Alrighty, so we have a KataGo versus KataGo game at very high playouts. I believe it was like 100,000 to like 1,000,000, depending on the turn. Lots of playouts, lots of playouts. With, I believe it was New Zealand rules and 7 Komi, if I remember correctly. Yeah, New Zealand rules. So I actually don't know New Zealand rules. I only know AGA, Chinese, and Japanese, and I don't think I've read the Korean ones. But yeah, mostly we're going to focus on what KataGo thinks about. And actually, while I have this, I'm actually going to have this load up in the background on AI Sensei, so I can see AI Sensei's opinion. Oh, I lost my pro account. Maybe not. Maybe next time. Because I don't want to trust a low playout. I don't want to trust a low playout. Ooh, what is this? Today we are pleased to announce our new cooperation with PandaNet. Nice, nice. We need this for OGS. We need this for OGS. Okay, okay, so I will not have, unfortunately, an AI's secondary opinion, and that was just going to be at 10,000 playouts. It wasn't even going to be like 100,000. But let's just go through this. I did ask for one that started with 4 corners. I know there was some that did not start with 4 corners. Okay, so we do have a Shamari. I'm kind of surprised it didn't choose this one. It's actually going low, which is less common, but it's nice to know. This is still a fine move, so it's nice to know that it still thinks that. This one's a little bit strange. This is definitely one of the moves, is to enclose a star point, but I think most modern AIs will stop the Shamari first, because Shamari is quite large, or make their own with some move. So I think this is the most common, or what I would expect to be the most common next white move. So it's interesting that they are playing a knight's move right here. Okay, that's expected. It's interesting that this is, again, not a 2-space. I would really expect a 2-space here. Yeah, and this is kind of the reason why AI really likes this attachment on the Shamari. And there's also like the shoulder hit here as well. Lots of attachments here. And also the AI really likes the center. So, yeah, interesting. Now, white could immediately go over here, but I think stopping this combination is quite urgent. And also immediately making this corner a little over concentrated is nice. So I don't think this is an unexpected move. So I know a lot of people might think this is unexpected, but if you've studied AI, then this is kind of one of those new, maybe not even new, but like one of those patterns that exist. So I'm not really surprised by this move. I think F3 is more surprising, or the timing of F3 is more surprising than this move. Okay. Reverse Hane is quite normal. Now we get into all the fighting and the reading that the AI is insanely good at, and I am not nearly as good at. Yeah, so this is all complicated, but mostly in situations like this, at the lower levels, what you want to keep track of is the liberties and cutting points. So right at a glance, this feels very bad for white, because white's cut apart and black's not dying anywhere. But we'll see that this sometimes will lead to very playable results. Okay, so white goes here. This one is kind of just making a Miai of these 2 stones. So basically, if I try to save this one, and black responded, that I could do this, but there's also this idea, but I mean, maybe it's possible, maybe it's not. That's probably good for black, though. But anyway, these 2 stones can be in danger. So you see that these 2 stones need that, like, no-be anyway. But on top of that, there's also this idea and then just go here. And white's not super comfortable. Not impossible to live in the corner, but maybe just here. Not impossible to live in the corner, but it does feel a little bit annoying. And it looks like it's good for black, because black's getting a lot on the outside. So there's lots of forcing moves that can be done here. Black can also consider variations like these, which are interesting to think about. Lots of reading here, but probably not the best. Anyway, the point I'm trying to show is there's a lot of options for black to bully those two stones to fix the situation. So I actually quite like this one because it's dealing with the biggest problem first and treating these two stones as kind of Miai to save. So if you go here, well, then I can just kind of start living like that. And the corner was already yours, so I'm not too worried about it. And if you try to do anything like this, well, now I have moves like this. So yeah, I quite like this. So we'll see black chooses this one. Yeah, because you have to do something. But even though like I know the Aji and I can understand the reasoning of 06, doesn't mean I know exactly what I should be doing here. I would spend a lot of time analyzing this position to understand it. I think there are Josekis here that I just haven't studied, because the Josekis I've been studying have to do with this one and this one. I just know that this is a pattern that exists. I just have not researched it super thoroughly because it's not the opening that I'm studying. But yeah, those are the kind of the concepts that you want to keep in mind, is the cutting stones, the liberties, and just taking care of everything. This one's interesting. So you would normally expect to try to kill these two stones. So let's just look at this one first. Obviously, this shape feels a little awkward for black because black can't Hane because of all these forcing moves. So it feels very awkward for black to play this way. And that's an empty triangle. So the shape is just really bad. It looks like you could potentially bully these quite a bit, depending on how you play it out. If you go here, this also has the potential to get bullied because of this vital point. This is the vital point of the almost bamboo shape. And then you can see that because of this throw-in, some Hanes become possible, right? So that means I can potentially just Hane right here, and it's actually quite difficult for black to play in this position. So the shape is quite annoying. Not impossible for black. Like, black can kill the stones. The point is, like, the shape can be bullied. So black's like, hey, if you're going to bully me from the inside, so I'm surrounding you at least. So now if we do this stuff, well, now white's at least getting surrounded and black's on the outside. And this is kind of one of those key points that you want to really think about during fights, is staying on the outside during the fight. So it's kind of the idea here. It's still really tempting to try to go down here and kill these though, because it's really safe. But yeah, the bullying on the outside, especially with the AI, at the AI's level of reading, it's very dangerous to do something like that. So I can definitely understand the idea behind this move. Sorry, that's my variation. Okay, so making a base, very natural. This one's also very natural. This one is also kind of natural, but a little more difficult to play. So normally a 2-space into a 2-space, there's lots of Aji in this area. So I usually tell my students, if you have a 2-space, then go 1-space. It's a little bit safer and easier to read. But it's like the AI can handle the reading, obviously, or the AI wouldn't play it. But there's also the idea that the A stones are weak, and because of that, they can be bullied. But black's B stones are also weak, so it's not like we can bully the A stones 100% attack-wise, because if we try to, then our own stones can get bullied back, and so we can't get the max profit off of them. So it's still possible, but definitely an interesting balancing act that's going on right here. This one is just leaning on white. It does kill the Aji, which is, you always want to hesitate to do a move like this. But if black can gain strength in Sente, you could think of this like a leaning attack. I'm gaining strength with my weak group, and once my weak group's no longer a weak group, thanks to me leaning on you, then now I can go for the all-out attack. This is just a basic move. Like, we could fix right here, but the AI is fixing in a way that just gets more points and has a little bit better eye shape, also looks at the corner. There's a lot of Aji to take into account right here, though. So one thing you have to watch out for is this move ever becoming a thing, because it does threaten this connection. But the AI is really good at taking the future Aji into account, which is one thing that's quite difficult to do, is when you're comparing like one Aji to another Aji, or a couple points to the Aji in the future. It's really hard to know like how much this Aji will impact future variations or future points without a lot of experience in reading. So not super easy to do, but the AI is unnaturally good at it, at knowing how the Aji will play out in the future. And it's usually pretty accurate. Anyway, that's that. So here we're just gaining strength on our weak group. We could also consider a 1-point jump. This is probably has to do with the Aji, like right here. The double peep of the large knight's move and the wedge Aji. So probably something to do with that. I'm not sure exactly, but that's my theory. Okay, white saves the weak group, and black Tanukis. So basically, it's hard to attack this group, but it's also hard to be attacked, because you already played a move for support, you're out in the center. White could start surrounding you a little bit, but white also has a lot of Aji, so it should be possible to live here. This is an interesting balancing act that I do not encourage Q players to copy, because if you have a weak group, it's usually worth spending one more move just to make sure that everything's okay. So maybe like here, here, and here. Like, okay, now I know for a fact everything is absolutely okay. Okay, and then white, I would say spend one more move just to make sure everything's okay. And even if your opponent ignores, you can usually make it up by not having the Aji. It's not that big of a deal to give your opponent that one extra move at the lower levels, because getting attacked is quite detrimental, and your opponents are not going to be so speedy or so accurate that one point is, or one move is going to make a gigantic difference. Like one big move is going to decide the game. Now, it's not going to be that case at the Q level. The dawn level can be, I would say, probably where it's unacceptable behavior no matter what is like 7 dawn. If you're 7 dawn, you cannot just fix groups and just give up Sente like with no regard for to Sente. You can just fix things. No, like now we need to make a judgment call of the future attacks. Can I handle them? If I can, and the profit's manageable, then I'm going to go play a big move. So it requires reading, counting, judgment, all that fun stuff that is quite difficult to do, but that is basically what is being applied here. You can also notice that it is a little bit of judgment of, I have a weak group, white has a weak group, and so I'm going to go 4th line, so that way the variations will support that in the future, even though white gets a big corner. Because I think we all know that the AI really likes this variation, because that's a lot of points in the corner. It is solid territory, and you can almost always get away with it. White did choose weak groups first. So again, I don't think it's a bad decision to do that. So yeah, weak groups first I think is still a pretty applicable strategy. And white is giving a big move just to fix everything, but we're also fixing in a way that is attacking our opponent, which is kind of a single-digit Q concept that I'm trying to drill into my students, which is when you defend yourself, if your opponent's also weak, try to defend yourself in a way that also attacks your opponent. So we could go down and just try to settle, and this is a good amount of points, so it's still pretty tempting. But usually defending yourself in a way that also threatens future attacks or Aji is usually more effective. It's pretty powerful. That's kind of the concept that is being applied here. Okay, so we're going to take our free move. And this one is quite interesting. White did not save the corner. That's actually quite unexpected. So I would expect something maybe to try to settle. Maybe something like that. And then maybe black will respect the move and defend this. Or maybe black will just take the profit and deal with the center attack maybe here or here. I don't know. Maybe something here. But something with this fight. So white's basically saying that this stone's no longer valuable. Like now it's just points because black already has the corner. Black's going to get the corner no matter what. Black had 2 moves there. So it's only a couple points now is probably the idea that's being applied, but it's still quite difficult to ignore a touching move, I think. This is a very large move, so it's definitely, the argument is definitely there. but it's very difficult to make this decision. And I think I've tried to copy decisions like these before, the judgment of when is it okay to Tanuki versus when it's not, and I almost always get it wrong. So like I'll respond to a weak group and the AI's like, no, something else is bigger, or I'll play something bigger and then the AI's like, no, the weak group's bigger. So it's really hard to make this subtle judgment call. So yeah, and black's not going to immediately just go in. That's too small. That's too small. Black has to make the whole thing valuable. And yes, this stone could still potentially live, but the positive exchange rate is going to be very good for black in this area. So it's still pretty nice to take that profit. But you make the profit big and valuable. You don't just make it small. Because the corner's already yours. The corner's already yours. So you want to capture the stone in a big way, not in a small way. Okay, now white is following up the attack and also focusing on the big framework while also reducing black. So this is quite a nice move. Quite a nice find. I would expect something along here, but I guess the Aji here is a little much because it's a little hard to attack this, but I think squeezing this could be quite nice. Maybe here or something like this. Maybe here because that is getting big too. We could go here as well, but black's is also big, so that we got to respect that. So I would probably find a move like this, but there might be some good reasons not to. Like, for example, what if I just sacrifice these 5 stones and keep this section? So what if I just destroy this and, like, give all that to you and just make it super, super small? What if I just surround it? You got no profit here. I'm getting all the profit here, and it's just super small. Like, this is a potential strategy worth considering. You would take counting, greeting, judgment, but it is potentially there. So this might be the same application as A. Capture it on a large scale or threaten it on a large scale. Make it something your opponent can't just sacrifice, basically. This is also very large. So yeah, it's a very interesting move. Okay, so black says it's too big, and again, if we try to immediately go for it, black's already gotten profit, so we can easily sacrifice this. So probably capturing it directly is just not going to be worth it. We'd have to capture it on a large scale. But I think it's honestly less about capturing. I think it's probably more about control, and white is saying I'm controlling this section of the board and black saying I'm controlling this section of the board, and potentially going to go up and control that section while reducing your section. So there's a lot to think about here because white isn't weak, only black's weak. So it's probably more about control, and control has to do with the positive exchange rates, which is the goal of Go. It is not territory, so it's not capturing, it's positive exchange rates, which is control. So I do think going in is very reasonable, but I also don't think it's bad for white in any way. But yeah, now time to attack. This one's interesting. I almost exclusively go here because I want to surround things. So this one's quite difficult to know the timing of. I'm not able to explain it very well. Okay, yeah, this is building left while reducing. We've already got a stone in there. So yeah, it's just a fancier way of reducing, but yeah, this is just reduction. We are threatening on the big scale now, so now the group is becoming a little bit larger than the Moyo because black is reduced. It's also a future attack to think about. Timing wise, hard to say that, or hard, sorry, I should say it's hard to explain the timing here because I don't fully understand it. But basically this it's that whole balancing act. Okay. And surrounded on a large scale. I'm not gonna pretend that I know exactly what the AI is reading here. Hopefully you can kind of understand attack it on a large scale. That's basically all I can explain here. It's pretty hard. The timing of this one. So this is basically saying that this territory on the top is not now mine. It's not even going to be worth saving the stone. You can reduce it, but it's not even going to be worth saving the stone. I'm going to kill all the Aji because there is still Aji like in here for white to do something. Black will still get territory, but black's basically saying I'm going to fix all of it. I don't think I would do this, honestly. I think I would probably never play this move in a million years. I would either help A, help B, deal with the whole section of this board, deal with this little hot dog here, or potato or whatever. Like, that's a giant section to be thinking about. There's many weak groups, so I don't think I would ever play this move. So I don't think I'm going to be able to explain this one very well, but I can tell you what it does, which is fix the area and kill all the Aji. Same with this one. This one is a little more reasonable, though. This is more... Hi, cat. This is more something I would play, which is surround the weak group. Make black respawn, because that group can't just die willy-nilly with no consequence. Black has to get something. Okay, remember I always said that you could sacrifice this because you already got the profit. This is counting, though, so we got to keep that in mind. Again, just attacking on a large scale. And now going back over here. Now, again, this is about control. We can cut this group and potentially kill it, but that's only territory. Very tempting. I would probably do it, but I also can understand the idea of like this control, this attack on the left, because it's very large. Even if black saves this, this can get very large very quickly and potentially larger than that. So easily understandable. Black is going here, so we could go for the simple life here. Going down into just making life. But this is probably too much, especially since we haven't lived with this yet. Probably too much. So black's going for the bigger fight. This also unsettles the A stone, the white's A stone. Black's definitely at the disadvantage in this fight, in this section, but it doesn't mean black's disadvantage on the board because black has a lot of territory. You can still save this. So it's just probably with this many playouts, it's even. But definitely difficult game to play personally. Like I would struggle to be either color right now. It's difficult judgment calls. I think I would prefer to be white because I feel like I have a lot more options. But there's also the idea of I have a lot of territory, so I can kind of do what I want. Oh, sorry about that. Just letting me know that my MGA stuff is coming up in a bit. All right, so settling and running. I hate this move. I would call this a mistake if my students did it. The timing of this just doesn't make sense. I would absolutely say you should be following this up. Or maybe just here. Like, if you're going to attack this, cut or threaten to cut, or attack this. I don't think I would ever respond to this Atari. I feel like it's a mistake. This feels like a mistake, but sure, why not, right? It's the AI. It's stronger than me. It knows what it's doing. But this to me feels like it's a mistake. It's the only move so far that I would say to me feels like a mistake. So if this was not KataGo, I would say this is a mistake. And if it wasn't someone or something that I knew was much, much stronger than me, I would say this is a mistake. That's a good exchange, yeah. Saving like the points for 2 stones, I think is a very good trade. Black saved it so we can keep bullying it now, and that's fair. I'm still wondering about the bottom left. But this is basically just getting more value from attacking A. I think that's all this is. I don't think it's anything more than that. It's just getting some free value because black is now invested in A again. So now I can go and get more value. Normally, though, we want to be on the outside, but I guess the outside's already done, so now it's time to switch gears to the inside because the outside has enough stones. Yeah. I have no idea. I have no idea. Is there like Aji right here? It's gotta be like Aji right here, right? There's gotta be some life and death Aji in there. There's gotta be. Like, that doesn't make sense otherwise. Like, this does not make sense otherwise. There's gotta be something in there. Like, my Go senses are telling me there's probably a life and death issue in there. I would have to read this for a very long time, and I cannot do that in a video review. But that is what my instincts are saying, is that there's something in there. There's gotta be. It doesn't make sense otherwise. And yeah, if you're gonna live, like, you can't be cut. So if you're gonna live, like, live in the territory. And also this unsettles the dragon. So yeah, absolutely this move makes sense. But these 2 stones, I don't quite understand the 2 stones. Okay, now we're back over here. I just don't like this timing. Going back and forth, the timing of it's quite difficult. between this dragon and this weak group down here. So between the two dragons, like which dragon on which turn do you defend? Hard to say. I want to say that black ran out of Sente defense moves, and this one's out versus this one's surrounded, whereas this one was attacking the right side, theoretically, if my theory's correct. So that's why we get to nuke it, but as soon as we run out of Sente defense, now we have to go back. That's probably... It's probably what's going to happen here, or what's happening here. That's my theory. This is just a shape point to make black uncomfortable. Interesting. This is a counting problem. It's like we could easily start looking at clamps and hanes and wedges to basically bully this to survive, but then we give up a lot of territory. But black also got to take the vital shape point and what looks to be Sente, depending on the counting. Yeah, this is going to be a counting thing. Okay, I think what is happening here. Let me get the pen. Remember, black had territory. Let's say half of that, at least. Black had territory. We did lose that, but black has territory. We had the potential for territory here, but we have now lost it. We have now lost the potential. We cannot make points there. So our only territory is here. So now white is short on territory. So white's probably saying, hey, like, I'm going to give you control of this area so I can get the territory that I am owed because it's time to cash in. Because I am getting too far behind, it's time to cash in. That is my gut feeling. Because otherwise, I would say you need to be defending your weak group and attacking the whole group. The timing for cashing in versus keeping up with the fight is very difficult. It requires good counting, good judgment. So I won't pretend to be able to say that I can do that perfectly. I would probably fix my weak group and keep attacking. But I'm also a load on, so... but that's probably what this move is saying. This move is saying that I want the cash. Right, and the only reason that would make sense is black has too much and control is very important, but if we don't get some cash, then we're going to lose. So that's probably the idea here. This is just fancy reading. But basically this is defense, right? So we're using the Aji of the knight's moves. We're using the Aji of the knight's move here. We're using the Aji of the distance here. This shape is very flexible to run versus going over here versus activating here, because don't forget that black can block right here and squeeze that cutting stone. I would not have found this move probably. I think I would play a more simple move like here, or maybe unsettle and then attack and then run. Something that is active with my weak group, but this is kind of a similar concept with much, much, much better reading. But that's basically what's happening here. Black is bullying all the Aji and forcing moves in order to survive in this area. And this is something I think a lot of players struggle with. This is probably maybe Dawn player thinking, or at least 5Q plus. I always say like live in a way that also attacks your opponent. But using Aji to this level is probably Dawn level plus, if not. And at this particular move might even be like 7 Dom plus or Pro plus. I don't know. They're stronger than me. But the strategy is I am using my opponent's Aji to accomplish my goal of aggressive defense, which is defense in a way that also is attacking you and basically, yeah. But we're using the Aji in the area to accomplish our goal, which takes a lot of Go problems and a lot of reading. To build that instinct and idea and then get good at applying it. It takes lots and lots of Go problems, lots and lots of reading, lots of practice. But that's the general concept is I am still playing defense. I am just using my opponent's Aji to do it very effectively. Now, where I see this going wrong a lot at the single digit Q level is they will use Aji, but they don't know if it helps or not. And so they just guess and then activate the Aji, but a lot of the times that will hurt them more than help them. So I will actively discourage you from trying to copy these moves, because this is a good way to die very quickly, is by killing all the Aji in the area. If you use the Aji and it doesn't help you, then you're hurting yourself quite a bit, and you could potentially kill your own group this way. So you have to have very good reading and judgment to use the Aji properly. But if you try to use the Aji without reading, if you're just saying, oh, this looks like clever, or this looks cool, that's a good way to die. Don't do that. It's a very bad habit. Don't blitz these moves. These require very accurate reading. It's a good way to die by doing that. And this is a common thing that I see at single digit queue a lot, is they learn to see the Aji, and so they just constantly activate it without reading it, without understanding that they're trying to help themselves. They just try to do something cool, and then their groups die. So it's a very, very common mistake. Don't do that. But yeah, that's the idea here. White keeping the territory. So I'm kind of liking black now. Black's still got a weak group, but activating the Aji very nicely. This is very simple but effective. It's unsettling while settling. Yeah, this is just getting the territory. This is just sealing it to make sure the territory is equal. But now black is going to get control of the flow of the game. So I expect black to start controlling this area now. Not where I would play, but basically the same thing. Just gaining more control, gaining more territory. I'm surprised that we're not doing more over here somehow. Maybe here. Attack it. Maybe like attack it in a big way, right? Attack it in a big way. Like make it heavy and then attack it, right? Or maybe threaten to cut. Hard to say. Like this is what I would be thinking about this area. I don't think I would come to this conclusion. It does kill the Aji right here. Get some more territory. But I think I would play in this area. This is going to be one of those judgment calls that is probably just beyond me. Yeah, reducing the area while also supporting your Aji. Very common. This is a very common tactic. Reductions are very nice. This is just activating some Aji. Timing's weird, but AI always has weird timing, so it's probably normal. Okay, now we're back over here. Like, this is just getting rid of, fixing some stuff in Sentai. No big deal. AI's timing is weird sometimes, so that's what I'm chopping that up to, but basically the idea is there, and we're still dealing with this. Defending your Moyo, you want to attack with your Moyo. You don't want to defend unless you need the territory, like down here. So 80 or 90% of the time, it's going to be a move like this rather than fixing. So yeah, I do think this is also a very normal move. Now we want to attack. Ooh, large attack. Okay. So I was expecting like some sort of double attack right here, but I wasn't expecting a triple attack. Boom, boom, boom. Like A, B, and C, all unsettled now. I like it. I can dig it. This is very nice. I can dig it. And now we just control this section of the board. This is just our control now. Now, on a position like this, if I had found a move like this, honestly, I would think that I'm probably going to win the game. However, I have been in positions like this where I'm attacking my opponent everywhere, and you'd be surprised that the AI actually doesn't hate white in these positions because living is quite easy at the higher levels with good reading. Living efficiently and using Yaji to live, like, all of it's manageable with good reading and judgment. It's just very difficult. Very, very difficult. But with good reading and judgment, it's doable. And I've seen the AI not hate these positions for white at all. And I have to improve my judgment and ability before I can accept that white is as good as black here. Because to me, black absolutely has the advantage here. Okay. Oh, actually, this dragon still is not alive, so we need to keep track of that. Tsuji, this is using Aji to try to save all your stuff. very common. We don't have to play the Tsuji out, so we're just saving the Aji for later for when it's necessary. So yeah, I think this is all quite normal. It looks fancy, but this is just Go problems at an insanely high level. So I don't think anything's unexpected of the last few moves. Knight's moves here is an interesting shape choice. It's also a shoulder hit, though. There's probably some reading that makes this seem better than it is, but this is a Knight's move. I would be a little bit cautious about that, but AI's good at reading, better at reading than me. Okay. We're kind of keeping up this triple attack. That's just weird timing again. Okay, so now we've got it down to 2 groups. And this one has a lot of potential for life because the A stones, there's a lot of Aji and forcing moves, and the B dragon is not alive, so there's a lot of forcing moves in the C section for white. So the D group should have an easy enough time to live. I am quite worried about the E group though, but black has not made the F section territory yet. So it makes sense that we're a little behind right here because black has to get profit somewhere. Definitely uncomfortable as white though, but still possible, still playable. This is just aiming for this section in a big way. So again, it's not getting overly attached to these 2 stones or to these 2 stones. It's very flexible thinking that I'm still keeping the whole dragon weak and keeping all the Aji alive, but as long as I live in this section and destroy this section, I'm fine. So it's very flexible thinking, which AI is really, really good at. AI is really good at flexible thinking. This is something that's quite difficult to understand, I think, because you keep thinking, oh, group, and it's like, you don't really need all the groups or any of the groups to survive. You just need a group to survive, because all you care about is destroying the section. You don't really care about 2 or 3 stones, be them these 3 stones, those 3 stones, or those 3 stones. It doesn't really matter as long as the section gets destroyed. So it's very flexible thinking, but also very difficult to apply. Yeah, there's lots of reading here that I'm not going to try to attempt because I'm going to be wrong. But lots of reading there. Timing of this is basically, hey, I've gotten some eye shape. Now I'm going to attack your whole group. I expect white to be able to still use the Aji to survive. Ooh, we're going to give up some territory. So we walk in. I guess we still have a move like right here, but this is a statement. This is a statement. That is a statement. I guess you can also think that if A connects to B, then I can start jumping in at the C or D area to unsettle the E dragon. But am I gonna make up these points that I just lost? Black had territory, but I guess we can give up some of this because we are destroying this. So if we destroy this, we can destroy this. And then we've already destroyed this. So now black only has this and this and this, and we still have probably this and this. So the score is still kind of close. Still kind of close. Sure. Kind of mind-blowing counting right there in judgment. But, you know, these things happen. Let's just switch targets, switch dragons. So we were attacking the A dragon, but now we're attacking the B dragon. And the C stones are not important because we're not attacking the A dragon anymore. And the C stones aren't even dead yet. We're attacking the B dragon now, though. Because that's how this works. Just going back and forth. Okay, staying strong, because these are the cutting stones for this dragon. Settle the group to keep black weak while also surviving and basically Sentai. And now black is trying to save the A dragon by now attacking the B dragon, because now you have lost your base. So remember, at Devil DigiQ, if anyone watches my videos at Devil DigiQ, is like, it's all about the bases, watch your bases, watch your bases, watch your bases. Well, it's kind of what's happening here. The bases are being lost, and so we're switching targets and using the new weak groups to survive with our current weak groups. Okay, so now we're connecting and surviving while making this not quite weak again, but there is some Aji to make it weak in the future. And also it kind of helps the cutting. It's difficult to follow. Difficult to follow. Okay. Yeah, Yeah, I'm not too worried about this connection if I have a double peep here, so it's okay. Yeah, that's fair. You can have one stone if I get all these. Yeah, I mean, it's weird timing, but sure, why not? Okay. And now we're switching targets here to double check this life because this group can't die. The black does not have the territory for this group to die anymore. Or to sack it, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, and this is the AIs where it's like, this thing is almost as equal as this thing, so it goes back and forth. But basically, still bullying all of this. And it's just a fancy way of cutting because if we can capture right here, but then the whole group still gets cut. So it's just a fancier way of cutting. But that's basically what it's saying. Oh, so that's exactly what happened. Yep. Yeah, so the A move is fixing the B group in a way that's also making C lose half the base, so D can kind of unsettle C while helping E. Again, bases. It's a very high application of bases. That's all it is. Still bases. Yep. It's kind of funny because this move never usually doesn't work because of the Ataris like this. So it usually doesn't work, but because this puts this white stone to Atari, it just happens to work this time. It's got kind of a funny looking shape. Yep. Everybody settling. Okay, so how many weak groups have we had on this board? Hold on. Everything's finally starting to settle down, but we've had one, we'll say two because there was some forcing moves in there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 weak groups currently, but some of the weak groups combined, and then some of the weak groups unsettled and combined with something else. So I can't even say like it's only 7 groups, because it was 5 at one point, it was 7 at one point, it was 9 at one, like, because you could also, there's an argument to be said that this is a weak group at one point, but then it connected to 3, so now it's all one group, even though it was 2 groups, but then 3 was connected to 5 earlier, so it's a little confusing, just a bit confusing, but you know, lots of weak groups. Okay. Everybody's just settling now. This is just probably more valuable to live this way because of the territory here versus the territory loss here. This is going to be some in-game counting, which the AI's basically perfect at. No human, I think, can compete with the AI in in-game. And I'm not going to try to. But yeah, it's basically math. I think from here we're going to get into just straight up in-game. I want to see if there's anything else super interesting. Yeah, this is just all super accurate mathematics, and the in-game mathematics done perfectly, like the AI is doing, is some stupid high-level math that I cannot do. It would take like a doctorate level mathematics to explain the math of in-game to the proper level. It can get insane. So I'm not going to try to explain everything, but basically AI is counting very accurately, I would assume. And I do not have the mathematical skill to prove otherwise. Black's getting potentially unsettled with a Ko. Because this is now potentially a false eye. Which could potentially give a lot of forcing moves for points. Yeah, so this is a Ko that's threatening the dragon, but it's more about getting some end-game points in Sente than the dragon dying. Like, the dragon's not going to die. It's more about some end-game. That's all this is. It's just a very fancy end-game. Yeah. Okay, I think that's all the exciting stuff that I'm capable of explaining. Okay, and I believe the rest is just in-game. This is just the AI being silly. Yeah, okay, yeah, it's just the AI being silly at the end. 317 moves, and the result is a tie. So, very interesting game, very fun game. Battle of 7 theoretical 7 plus groups. I don't know. Battle of the 7 morphing groups. Very exciting game, and yeah, so I'll go ahead and wrap it up here. Hopefully, everyone that is watching the video enjoyed the review. It was quite an entertaining game, I will say, and it was a lot of fun to review. So yeah, hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time.